Hey there, and welcome to the Inbox episode for the 27th of September 2011. I'm XollFury.
And I'm Zamboni Chaos.
And you can email in your questions and comments and topics for future shows at zollfurymail@gmail.com.
Episode 1 this is.
Indeed. All right, first email comes in from LabTech1560, and he says, I think we should all, as gamers, take a long thought at what endgame is going to be in Guild Wars 2. Is it the start of a new character time or more? Ooh, there's a thought, lol. All right, so I think you might be hinting at a new phase to the personal story or something, but I don't know, what do you think endgame will be like in Guild Wars 2?
Well, I don't really know what endgame was like in Guild Wars 1 because I never got there, but I do know it's going to need something. I mean, we haven't really gotten any information on what endgame is going to be yet, so it's all speculation at this point. But I don't know. I feel like it needs to be something grand. It needs to be something epic and exciting, right? I mean,
well, yeah.
It can't just be something that is, kind of, lackluster. Now it's this kind of place you go kill something and, it's kind of, it might start like that, but it needs to be something that I think is challenging. It's rewarding. I think it needs to be risk reward. The more challenging it is, the more rewarding it is. And I think it needs to be, like I said, epic, drawn out, long. I mean, it's end game. It's the climax of a story. And if it's your personal story, I would also like to see, different things, like a varying end game depending on the choices you made or how you built your character. And I think that would make it really cool. I think that would, if they're putting this much emphasis on a personal story, then the end game needs to be somewhat of a conclusion, maybe not a permanent conclusion, but a satisfying conclusion to your personal story. That's what I want to see in like end game. But I think it'll be like raid. I want it to be raid format, but I know they've talked like it's not gonna have that, so I'm kind of confused as to what they'll do.
See, I think raiding would be not a detriment, but very anticlimactic for Guild Wars 2. I think if it had a more advanced, more evolved raiding structure, I think, or engine, whatever you want to call it, then I think it would be okay. But I mean,
well, you're right. The idea of just running into the same place over and over and over again,
boring,
just to get gear, that is pretty anticlimactic. I mean, it was like in WoW when you finally just beat the Lich King. The first time it was awesome, and then you did it over and over and over again for the next 3 months until Cataclysm came out. So it was like, well, we've already done this. Like, I want to see like something happen that matters.
It's pretty safe to say that we will be fighting and or killing Zaitan at the end of the story of Guild Wars 1 because he's the main antagonist for the initial release of the game. However, he does have champions that we will likely fight beforehand and other various things. So are they going to be the boss of a dungeon that we go in and kill? Or is it going to be a dynamic event that spawns them? I mean, what kind of format is that going to be, would you think? Because I honestly don't know.
Well, either way, it's hard. It's going to be hard to avoid that anticlimactic feeling of repetition because they're going to have to, whatever they do, it's going to have to be permanent and replayable. Because obviously you can't just have a select group of people doing it once and it's over, and everyone who did too bad. No, it's going to have to be replayable in some fashion. But I am more keen to the idea of a dynamic event, not in the sense that it's random, but in the sense that if you complete a certain number of objectives, you have the ability to go into a certain area of the world, and that area of the world is like, kind of like they did WoW, phase shifted, or something like that, where something is like, maybe it's Lion's Arch, maybe it's the city is, just in ruins or getting destroyed because Zaitan's attacking and the battle takes place there. And, anyone who has gotten to that point in the story, they have to get to that point in the story before they can join you. So you have to like work towards that goal of, getting everybody, to that point and then being able to engage like in that final battle.
Yeah.
But that would be hard to do, and that would be that might not be the best system. I'm not a game designer. Either way, I don't really care. If it's a raid, that's great. If it's dungeon that you have to go into, that's fine. I just want it to be as epic as they're saying everything else will be. because the build up, and you spend so long loving this character, and it sounds like you're going to have a lot of, you know, a lot of compassion, a lot of attachment to your character. And like I said, I still want to see something in the in game relate to your character individually. Like,
yeah, because I would hate to like complete the story and like do everything and then be like, well, I love you, character. I've spent many hours on you, but you're useless now.
Now I'll just roll another one or so whatever. I really would like them to see. I would like to see in this end game, like really, really make your character matter.
Yeah.
And when you finish it, give you an incentive to keep playing that character. Like, oh, well, now you've done this. Now your character is ready for these events. All this stuff.
Right.
Maybe even after, in the end game, it's not just one or two raids or dungeons. It's you've done this. Well, now go and do this.
Right.
Now your character is, the character story shouldn't ever end until the expansions stop coming out, right? I mean, that's what I would hope. I would hope and we're getting kind of off topic, but the end game I don't think needs to end. Like at least not Guild Wars 2. Like I think they could keep it going, and if they time it right, have the defeat of Zhaitan, a couple months before the next expansion or something like that, so it's not anticlimactic.
Right. See, there's one thing
the problem, because you have people wanting to play the next game, and then everyone just buys the next game and doesn't focus enough, because that's what happened in WoW with Sunwell. But I don't know. It's a topic because there's so many things they could do. There's so many paths they could take, and I just want to say, bottom line, there needs to be an end game. That's the most important thing. I think of DCUO, which had almost no end game to speak of, and the game is pretty much sounding its death now. It's kind of dying in the corner.
It's about to go free to play, so yeah.
Free to play, like less than 6 months after release.
Well, no, it's been a little bit longer than that, but yeah, it's still sad.
It's free to play, and in the first year is just death for an MMO. So, and it was because why there was a lack of in game.
Yep.
So I really think but I have faith in ArenaNet. I think that they will. When a developer cares about a game as much as ArenaNet cares about Guild Wars 2, I think they're very aware of what players want and of what would be best for their story and their world. And so I have no doubt that they're going to give us something very exciting to do once we hit that max level.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two different models we can look at. One is the classic raiding model that just about every MMO has, i.e., here's this dungeon, go kill the bosses, get your loot, upgrade your loot, and now you can go fight this tougher dungeon.
Right.
While that's an exceptional model to keep people playing because they have something to aspire to.
Well, they want the epics, right? I mean, you want the gear, but I don't think Guild Wars 2 is going to be like that. I don't think it's like I don't think people will play the game because they want the gear. No, I think there needs to be a different carrot on a stick.
I agree. I'm simply just saying though that the rating system works in that it keeps people playing. So you need something to keep people playing. Obviously, that's the whole point of Endgame.
Of course.
But the other model that I thought of is the Guild Wars 1 model. That is
like story campaign, like mission based.
Exactly.
Right?
It was like after you beat the entire freaking game. Well, because max level, you got to max level like halfway through the Prophecies campaign and like 10% of the way into the other two campaigns. So that was their pretty much the start of their end game was just finishing the stories. It was very story driven. So I would like to,
if the first game was that story driven, and they're putting even more emphasis on it in Guild Wars 2, I would think it might be something similar, just maybe more extreme. Like, okay, you hit level 80, now is when it really gets good. It's like the first 80 levels was just like the prologue to a story.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping your character is nothing for the first 80 levels. Like he's just this random guy who's kind of rising, and getting more famous and becoming a hero. And when he hits 80, he's finally a hero, but he actually hasn't done anything yet in the grand scheme of things. And it's when he hits level 80 is when you have to take your character and be like, wow, I actually need to actually start thinking about the world, and Elder Dragons now, that's a problem. And I want it to be that that hero story. It's like Star Wars. It's like it's like the nothing kid, kind of just rising from nothing and becoming somebody. And I think it would be great if like the first 80 levels are just that, like how that the growth of your character.
Yeah.
And then the end game is your character's legendary exploits. Like I think that would be awesome. Like, that would not only would make it fun in game, but it would give that sense of gravity to your character that I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, in a game like Guild Wars 2, where it's all about your character, gravity is, and having your character be important to the world. I think they should definitely use that in the end game, and I hope they do.
Yeah, I definitely hope so too. I think we've probably talked about this into the ground, so.
But it's a great topic, and I'm super excited to see like what they come up with.
Oh yeah.
If out of the things in Guild Wars 2, it's one of the things I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we just go ahead on with the next one? So go for it.
Okay, let's see. The next question comes in from Shamralive from Paradigm Shift. Good old Guildie there.
Yeah.
First, I would like to say I love your channel and thanks for the great vids. Well, you're welcome, sir.
Indeed.
All right, so his question is, ArenaNet has put so much effort into balancing PvP. They have removed gear and level advantage, and there are no dedicated healers. With this in mind, why are there still RNG crits in the game? There are no doubts that random crits can add to the action and make for a more dynamic battle, and that is fine in world PvP and hot join games to some degree. But for a game that puts itself forward as one of the true esport MMOs, surely eliminating all forms of RNG and chance will benefit the competitive aspect of the game. The less randomness, the better. All right, so that's a good question, and there was just something I wanted to clear up is when I first read this, I thought he was talking about completely random crits, right? Like
right.
Team Fortress 2, there's an aspect, there's no stats on your guns, but you can randomly crit.
Exactly.
But there's no way to increase that chance or decrease that chance. It's just built-in binary random crit chance, right? Everybody's got it. I mean, as far as I know, I don't play a lot of Team Fortress 2, but I think it's completely random and it just happens, right?
Right.
So you could be, almost winning and then one guy gets one lucky shot and you're dead. Now, that I am not a fan of at all. I think, especially in a shooter, but in a game like Guild Wars 2, if it was just random, that would be a problem, but obviously it's an RPG. So it's not going to be completely random. It will be based on a percentage. And why don't you talk about how that works?
Right. Okay, so let me cite for you one little key part of your leveling experience, and that is the attribute points. For those of us who have played WoW a lot, all we really had to look forward to when we leveled is new skills that we can unlock and talent points. And I'm not sure about the equivalent for talent points. That's probably going to be more like trait lines and other such things, but those are more discovery. But what they're doing on a leveling, like every time you level, you get attribute points. And these are very much like standard RPG.
What's attribute points, XollFury? I'm not familiar with those. Oh wait, are those things that started out in Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, indeed they are.
You mean the system that's been around since the dawn of the RPG?
Yep.
Amazing.
That very one, sir.
I thought they were just a legend.
Well, Guild Wars 2 is bringing them back. So
awesome. Whenever
you level, you have 4 different attributes. And that is power, precision, toughness, and vitality. And you are given a set number of attribute points. I don't know if, every time you level up. I don't know if it increases as you level. All I know is that in the latest video of Total Biscuit playing a high-level Elementalist play, he got 7 points when he leveled up.
That's awesome. The more points, the better. Like when I play games that have this system, like Diablo or
it's like here's 1 attribute point.
Yeah,
spend it wisely.
It's like, well, I guess I'll get a little more health, and I'm like, and then you click it, and you're like, oh no, I should have put it in strength, and then you can't go back. And,
right.
But
So here, the attributes in this are power, precision, toughness, and vitality. Toughness is increases defense, vitality increases health, power increases attack, and precision increases critical hit chance.
Right. So, essentially, you will be able to customize your character to have a different crit chance than everybody else.
Yep. If you wanted to,
sure.
Every time you level up, you can pump all of your attribute points into power and precision, and you will hit very hard and crit often, but you'll probably die a lot quicker. But you can do that.
I don't know how this is going to work, but how do you think that will kind of form the strategic element of PvP, because I can think of one character putting a lot of points into health and like, vitality and armor and stuff like that. But then you have one character who is, wants to do damage, so they ignore survivability in their attribute points and just pump them right into power and precision. So they're like a glass cannon. Like, it's interesting to think of how teams will build themselves. Like, well, because they'll have that opportunity to do that.
Right.
It's not just picking a class and doing whatever that class is. It's actually, I'm going to pick this class, but then I'm going to assign points so my class does this.
Exactly. You could do something like, rather than just saying, I'm going to play an elementalist and I'm going to be the big bursty caster person, you could pick an elementalist and pump like a lot of your attributes into, like on the 7-point system, you could put like 3 into toughness and then like 2 into like power and then like 1 in both of the others, so that you're like very, very defensive but also have good attack.
Right.
So you can do stuff like that, and you could also make the warrior is probably one of it's one of the 2 tankiest professions in the game, but it isn't more tanky than the guardian. It has they just don't die. They have so much health, and if you pumped a whole pile of vitality and toughness into your warrior, you just won't die. You'll just be that fixture of that just pillar in the battlefield that just will not die, and that could be very beneficial.
Right. And or you could flip it and you could just pump tons of like, I don't know, what's the stat for strength? Just straight up power. And then so you're this plate wearer, right, who has the armor, but you're not focused on survivability. You're focused on damage dealing. You're focused on getting in there and messing your opponent up. And because you're depending on your other team to do their roles. And so I think as far as competitive PvP goes, I'm not worried about the randomly generated crits, because I think they're fun in RPGs. I think it's fun to see those numbers, and say, oh, I've got more crit, but I don't think it'll be imbalanced.
Yeah, and the deal is they're not randomly generated. There is a sense of randomness in that they are based on a percentage, but they're not random because they're based on a percentage, if you follow.
Well, it's random to the sense that you can't plan for them.
Right.
And that you can't really build a strategy around critting. It's just, I'm going to put more points into crit so I have more of a chance to do damage.
Right.
But you can't really build a strategy around crit, I would say.
Right.
It's more there to supplement your build, which I think is fine.
Right. Personally, I would rather pump all of my attributes into power than precision, or a mixture. Right. So that you have the guaranteed damage.
Right.
And you'll still crit because there's that percentage, but you have that guaranteed big numbers rather than the, oh god, I really hope I crit right now.
Yeah. And, this is still far out, and so as people smarter than us start to theorycraft, then we'll be able to see kind of what works and what doesn't. But that's something I'm excited about too. It's if you thought theory crafting in WoW was intense, just wait until you get to it. Like, oh, well, if I put 1 point here, that throws off everything. It's like, I love that. I love that kind of just getting down to the nitty gritty stats. And I won't do it because I'm not smart, but I like to read what other people come up with.
I can't see myself taking very much time on the attributes window. It's like, I level up. Okay, am I dying too much? Okay, I'll pump some into toughness and vitality. My survivability? Fine. Okay, I'll pump some into power.
This is for PvP. Think about the hardcore PvPers, though. They're going to want to squeeze every possible edge out they possibly can. So you can bet they'll be sitting there and bringing up Excel spreadsheets and whatnot. Staying up all night doing math and being true nerds, which is I'm fine with. I just won't do it.
Yeah, we'll just wait till they post that online and then read it and copy that. Anyways.
That's what everyone does.
All right, moving on. This one comes in from Aztec. And he says, hey, Zoll and Zamboni, good luck with the new show. Thank you very much, sir. He says, Guild Wars 2 looks like it is shaping up to be one of the best MMOs to date, as it includes good ideas from other MMOs, as well as lacking the monthly fee, which has become commonplace in practically all popular MMOs. As most people who play the genre have experienced WoW, it has become commonplace for many people to bash the game and claim Guild Wars 2 will be the new MMO of choice. It's also been predicted to be released around the same time as SWTOR, which is also shaping up to be another very popular MMO. This question has been on a lot of people's minds, and I'd like to know your opinion on where you feel Guild Wars 2 will fit in with other MMOs, notably WoW and Star Wars SWTOR, and why this may be. Firstly, I'd like to point out a couple things here. The no monthly fee is going to be monumental.
I would say it's the most important thing.
Yes.
Like, maybe not to us,
right?
But to regular consumers who don't really know a lot about MMOs, that's going to be huge. That's going to be the game changer.
Right, exactly. I mean, here's the deal. Every time when I was back into WoW, like hardcore, like I love this game and I want everyone I know to play it, I would try and sell it. I'd be like, it's awesome, it's this. And they'd be like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And they'd be like, how much is it? And I say, it's X plus $15 a month. And they're like, I'd play it if there was no monthly fee.
Yeah, I mean, for people who aren't into games like me and you or our, subscribers, we'll pay that money if we to play a game that we like. But people that, the idea of paying monthly for a game turns a lot of people off.
Well, yeah, because
and especially people who don't game a lot.
Right,
so
right.
I know for a fact. I mean, I had friends the same way. They would pay. I had a friend who would pay $5 for a RuneScape subscription, but he wouldn't pay an extra $10 to play WoW. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but that's what goes through some people's minds. Like, they can't justify paying that much money. So, in a game like, and I'll just say it again, or I won't. I'll say it for the first time. I don't know. I probably said it before this now, but I'll just reiterate: Star Wars: The Old Republic, monthly fee.
Yep,
it has it. I think that's going to be its greatest challenge to overcome.
Yeah.
It's got BioWare's name attached to it, which is good. I love BioWare. I love everything they do. The problem is, and it's got Star Wars, attached to it. So Star Wars and BioWare, they've Knights of the Old Republic, they've won in the past. They could probably do it again. And the Old Republic is looking to be, Knights of the Old Republic and the MMO, right?
Right.
Which I am all for. Which I love that idea, right?
Right. I'll play it.
I'll play it, but here's the thing: am I going to? Is there going to be enough difference between what I'm used to in WoW and the Old Republic that justifies paying $15 a month? Like, will I get a unique enough experience playing the Old Republic? Is that going to be enough to justify me paying $15 a month? I don't know. I haven't played a minute of this game, but everything I've seen and everything I've heard sounds like it's pretty binary when it comes to MMO development. It sounds like it's pretty WoW-ish. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't want to sound like a broken record saying Total Biscuit said, or in Total Biscuit's video, or other such things. I don't want to do that. I do think for myself. You know this, but maybe the subscribers don't. It's like, oh, he keeps referencing Total Biscuit. Blah. But in this circumstance, I don't know that I could phrase it any better than he did. And how he approached the situation was, Star Wars Tour is a great game. Guild Wars 2 is a great game. They both do what they set out to do very well. He said that he would probably play both. I'll probably play both, but and now that he mentions it, the reasons that he gives will be a factor. But he said Star Wars Tour he will play like a single player RPG.
Yes. That's a big thing. That's a great point, because when I'm thinking about playing the Old Republic, it's funny, I don't think of it as an MMO. I think of it as Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Yep.
Or
3 now.
3, yeah. 2 was not good, but 3, I think of a new Knights of the Old Republic game, right?
Yeah.
With more features and in this generation of technology.
Right.
And that excites me.
Right. No, he said he's played a whole lot of Tour, and he said that it's, I can only know from what I've seen, but he said that it's an amazing or a great standalone RPG. And if there's other people that you can play alongside of, that's great.
That's great.
It is very familiar to a lot of people because it's hotkey based.
Right.
But it is also dynamic. and in that, you can actually like block laser blasts as
Right.
a lightsaber wielding guy. But not only that, it's very, very story driven. There's a morality system.
Right.
There's,
Well, it's BioWare. It's
Right.
like that. There's like going to be that conversation system too,
Right.
like Mass Effect and things like that. Yeah, there's great things in that game.
Right. And he said that if he were to approach the game as a single player RPG that he's playing through for the story,
Right.
then he has zero problems playing it.
Well, see, I'm glad to hear that because that's going to be the main reason I play that game is for the single player story experience. And my single player experience, won't be truly single player because there'll be other people.
Right.
But I will play it and view it as a single player narrative.
Right.
That I can bring my friends into.
Right.
Which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
But isn't Guild Wars 2 doing the exact same thing?
Well,
Just
no,
better?
no. See,
about
he said, Star Wars Tour is I will play it like a single player RPG. However, he said that he wouldn't want to get into it like seriously. Like he wouldn't do the end game rating or anything like that. If he said that if he wanted to find an MMO that he would actually seriously play and actually dedicate himself to, not that he actually ever does that, but he said that Guild Wars 2 would be that game.
You know what makes it easy to do that? Dun, 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 dun. No subscription fee.
Yep.
I mean, it's so easy to play a game you only have to pay one fee for. Isn't it? Don't you love that?
Oh, yes.
And, it's like, it's the same thing with, like, Xbox Live. Like, I canceled my subscription to that a while ago because I wasn't playing enough of it. And it was like, so many games that come out on the system, you really need multiplayer to give it any kind of replayability.
Right.
Right. And I wasn't about to pay that much just to have replayability on a game I didn't really care about. Like, and it's this same thing with MMOs. It's like, yeah, you're gonna, what gives replayability to an MMO? Or it's not. I guess replayability is the long word. What gives it, lasting value?
End game.
In game and PvP.
Yeah.
So, PvP is great, and in game is great. But if you put them up to you have two games, both have these things, but one costs me $15 a month and one costs me nothing.
I'll play them both.
I'll play them both too, but which one do you think I'll drop first? The one that costs
with the fee.
money. Because even if I don't drop, I'm still going to play the one that costs me nothing.
Exactly.
So Guild Wars 2 actually cannot lose in this situation.
It really can't.
I'll just say it right now.
Yeah.
Because even if someone plays the Old Republic, they're going to do like what Total Biscuit said. They'll play it as a single-player narrative, and they'll probably still play Guild Wars 2 because it's going to be a great MMO. It's going to be a great social game already, and it's a game. All right, so what was the other question? Where does it fit?
Yeah, where does it fit in with other MMOs?
That's what I was going to say. It's a game that. All right, so the Old Republic is safe. It's a safe game.
Yep.
It's going to make money. It's a safe game, right? Just like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, it's a safe game. Yeah,
it's relying on the IP of Star Wars to actually be any successful. Because if it wasn't Star Wars but was a sci-fi MMO, it wouldn't be popular.
I would agree.
Not have the hype.
It's so hard for a sci-fi MMO to make it.
Oh yeah,
but there's been some great ones. But I mean, it's so hard. I don't know why. It's interesting, but that's another topic for another time. What Guild Wars 2 is doing, it's pushing boundaries. It's breaking down barriers. It's using one of the most important business concepts of all time, innovation, in order to make the best product they possibly can. When you have a game like BioWare, especially when you've got EA on your back, I mean, EA's gonna. I mean, you might not like to see it this way, but it's the reality. So EA has power in that.
Yeah.
I've heard unconfirmed, things about how BioWare is not really in control of that game anymore, which is, if it's true, that worries me.
Yeah.
Now we look at ArenaNet. ArenaNet is completely in control of their game.
NCSoft is their publisher.
You don't see NCSoft. They're not going to hound the one company that makes them money. I mean, if you see NCSoft's other titles, you're like, yeah, they really can't lose ArenaNet.
Sorry, that was a funny comment.
It's true.
I never thought about it like that before.
Why would you piss off the only people that are making you money? I mean, so that's what NCSoft is like. ArenaNet comes and says, "Hey, we're going to do it this way," and NCSoft's like, "Cool, guys,
Do your thing.
do your thing," and that's a great place for a developer to be in.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why I think we can expect great things from Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet, because they're approaching it, from a point of view that's not jaded by, trying to make a paycheck or trying to make a lot of money. They're approaching it from a point of view that is, how can we make the best game we can make?
Right.
And make people happy. And of course, and you can tell they love it. I mean, and they haven't had to deal with probably a lot of that publisher stress that BioWare's had to deal with. BioWare's a much bigger company than ArenaNet.
Right.
So it's interesting, and it's kind of I think going into this next generation or next release quarter of MMOs, or as these MMOs come out, specifically the Old Republic and Guild Wars, I think Guild Wars 2 is kind of the underdog, or it's viewed as the underdog by the populace, because we have BioWare and Star Wars grouped together. That just looks like a juggernaut, right? And so they're probably thinking, well, Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 1 was okay. So people that don't really know a lot about it and don't delve into it probably don't give Guild Wars 2 much of a thought. Like, oh, it's free? Well, I'll try it, But once you look at it and you really compare the two side by side, Guild Wars 2 is much stronger because it's actually trying to change things.
Right.
It's actually trying to change what the idea of an MMO is, whereas the Old Republic is not doing any of that.
Yeah.
None of it. It's not trying to innovate, at least what I've seen, in any significant fashion. Whereas Guild Wars 2 is pretty much innovating every possible way they know how.
And then some.
And then some, right. They're still keeping true to what makes an RPG great, but they're changing the MMO part of MMORPG. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's...
Yeah, about the whole underdog thing, take this into consideration, because we all know that Facebook numbers don't lie.
Facebook's like the Bible, man. You can't...
Okay, so Star Wars Tour has, let me see, 410,000 likes. Guild Wars 2, 231,000. So...
You make the argument that one Guild Wars fan is worth 2 BioWare fans.
Then they're even.
That's a dick thing to say, but no. Well, like you said, I'll tell you why. You know why? I'll tell you why that is. It's marketing. EA has a lot of money to spend on marketing.
That is very true.
They want their game to succeed because they want to make money. ArenaNet probably, or NCSoft as well, they probably don't have... a vault full of money they roll around in, every day. Hey, let's just use a handful of this to make a TV commercial or something like that, or let's make it put up our game on a billboard.
That actually just made me think of something. Star Wars Tour has put out, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 at this point, trailers.
Those
cinematic trailers
are amazing.
They're brilliant.
Amazing, and it's great marketing.
Oh yeah, and
you know what? And you know what? It does nothing to describe what their game is.
Well, no, but it looks awesome.
Well, it looks awesome, but I mean, it's like you watch those trailers and you're like, that looks so cool. I want to buy this game, and you don't realize that what you just watched has explained nothing about the game to you. It has not done anything but make make us Star Wars nerds, jizz in their pants. Like that's all those trailers are meant to do.
Yeah, well.
It's clever marketing.
True.
But it doesn't say anything.
But then you look at ArenaNet, and they don't have any cinematic trailers. Every last trailer you have seen of theirs is in-game footage.
Right.
Now, what they have said is that they don't want to deceive the players. They want it to be the genuine, like when you watch a trailer, that is what the game will look like.
Yes.
And while I like that, and while I'm sure that is a huge part of why they don't have cinematic trailers, I wonder if there's any more to the story, i.e. not having the funding to make them.
I think that might... Think about it, though. if you're a company like ArenaNet and you already have the game there, you can make trailers from that. You don't have to hire anyone extra or spend all these extra man hours creating this, just over, developed cinematic with crazy special effects and super good animation. And at the end of the day, it does nothing. Like, it doesn't explain your game at all. Like, I think they're smart for not doing that because they're not spending money on,
time.
And time, exactly. Like, if I'm glad they're not. As a fan, as someone who wants to see Guild Wars 2, I'm glad they're spending time actually working on their game and not creating it. Like, you wonder if those 3 cinematics from Star Wars: The Old Republic hadn't been made, if the game would actually be out by now. I'm actually curious about that. But this is just more evidence of where ArenaNet's where their heart is.
Yeah.
They want to make a game, not a paycheck. And there's nothing wrong with those cinematics. They're so cool. But
right.
As far as actual game goes, they're pointless.
Right. And you mentioned the release thing, and when I first read this email, I said 2 things to note, and I never got to the second one. But that was, he mentioned it has also been predicted that the release to be released around the same time as Star Wars Tour, Guild Wars 2 would. And I would say that's probably not true. Star Wars Tour is in open beta. If nothing else, that speaks to how close it will be out, how soon it will be out.
I'm pretty sure it'll be out before the end of the year.
I would
pretty sure.
If I had much money to place, I would probably place it on that.
Yeah.
However, Guild Wars 2, I would guess summer 2012. That's just an educated guess. But we still don't know.
People are still going off the release date of holiday 2011 because that's the last thing they said.
No, no, they've never said that.
Well, no. If you go in like a while back, there was information that said the game would be released in 2011, like 2 years ago.
Okay.
So
everything recently,
right? Well, that's what everybody's going on. They're not, because I listened to another podcast, a PC Gamer podcast from the PC Gamer magazine, and they were all talking about games that were shown. I think it was Gamescom, and which games they're most excited about coming out this year. And some of them said Guild Wars 2. So like they were including that in games that were coming out this year. But I still don't think it will come out. It'll come out this year. I don't. It's because if you look at all the signs and you pay attention to the development process and where they are in development,
all they
just
have said,
super rushed if it came out.
Yeah, all they have said is, as far as when the release dates will be or anything like that, is that there will be closed alpha and closed beta in 2011.
Right.
And all that they have said for release date is when it's freaking ready.
Yeah. And
that really speaks to they do not want to rush the game.
Right. So if it's not ready, it won't come out. I mean, that's just...
Exactly.
But I think, closed beta this year is a good goal. I think that's... If they can get closed beta over with...
Well,
and that's pretty much the home stretch.
Right.
Because then you just have to do slight tweaks, slight polishes. You don't have to make any game-changing, coding or anything like that.
Well,
everything's there.
It's pretty safe to say that closed alpha is probably done at this point.
Yes.
I mean, if not, it will be very soon. And now, granted, they're not going to immediately hop into closed beta. They need to, review all of the data and see what needs to happen. But
there won't be that much time between the end of closed alpha and...
I would say maybe a month.
I say closed alpha. Like there's an open alpha. The end of alpha and the start of closed beta.
Right.
A month at the most. So we could be seeing closed beta very soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, so I think that's about all we really need to say.
Talked about it a lot, but I guess let's just sum it up.
Okay.
Where Guild Wars 2 will fit in with this next release of MMOs. It's going to be successful, right? I mean, that should be common knowledge to us by now.
Well,
everyone who pays attention. And it's going to be successful because there is no subscription fee. I know it might sound cynical, but that really is the greatest strength of Guild Wars 2 in the marketplace.
Right. See, right now, you're looking at Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 2 is a solid game. It will be fantastic.
Yes.
But if it had a subscription fee, I can guarantee you a whole pile of the people that want to play it won't because of that.
It's the same idea as Vindictus. I started playing that game recently, and it's free, right?
Yeah.
If the game was not free, I would not play it.
Right.
But the game is free, and I love it. Like, I love it to death. Like, it's one of the coolest kind of MMOs I've seen, and I hope Guild Wars notices what they've done with that combat in Vindictus, because it is some of the most satisfying combat I've ever played.
Yeah.
But that game is.
I would love to.
Free, right? And I mean, it's so good. And like you were gonna say, probably we should do some videos on that because
yeah,
Vindictus.
No, but I would like to in Guild Wars 2 bind the very first one action bar skill is your spammable button. You can put that on auto attack.
I want to spam it to left mouse, like you
said. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yes,
bind it to left mouse button.
That's so bad. I love the feeling of just running through it in that Diablo, the click, 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 just so satisfying.
Yep.
But so I mean, Guild Wars 2, its free to play model is going to be the reason it's successful initially.
Right.
Just consumers will look at it, they'll say, Star Wars, $15 a month. Guild Wars. That looks fun. Oh, subscription fee. I'll buy this one, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And
we can
help.
or
I mean, we can help by like what we're doing now, like channel spreading the word,
right?
And by telling people, oh, well, that it doesn't cost anything to play that game,
right?
And let me show you why it's awesome,
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I've tested out plenty of MMOs. I tested out DCUO, tested out Warhammer Online, EVE Online, a bunch of different games. All I really ever did with any of those is played the first free month. And then after the end of that, I was like, is this game worth my $15 a month to continue to play it?
And that's the question everybody's
every last one, I said, no.
Yeah. And that's the question everybody asks.
Yeah.
And with Guild Wars 2, you don't even have to ask that question.
Yeah.
So it will be successful, and its innovation is going to be the reason it gains popularity after release.
Yeah.
And I think I make a prediction that it will quickly leave the Old Republic in its shadow. Like, if everything goes well and they do it and they pull it off, I think Guild Wars 2 could be more popular than, I know it sounds crazy, but it could be more popular than a Star Wars MMO. Like, because gamers today, they're more interested in good games than IPs, than the name.
Yeah.
If just it being Star Wars doesn't impress the average gaming crowd anymore. It's got to be good too.
Right. Well, the thing is, it is going to be good.
I agree, but is it going to be amazing?
That's the thing.
Is it going to be worth $15 a month? That's the question. And like I'm saying, with Guild Wars 2, you have a game that's innovating, doing amazing things with its development, amazing things with its gameplay, and you don't have to pay a cent for it.
Yep.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yep, me too. But this is like way longer than I expected it to be. I was hoping for like a 20-minute video, but it looks like we've been going on for 40 plus minutes. So.
Oh yeah, we might have to do some editing, cut some out, but we got some good questions, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of just. This is going to be kind of a long-winded kind of thing because we spend a lot of time talking about one kind of topic.
Yeah.
And the better the questions, the better the topics, the more we talk about them.
Yeah, and I think I will upload this in its unedited form. And I want you guys to, like, if you are still listening at this point, let us know what you think of it. Did you actually want to listen to the whole thing? Did you ever think about turning away? Was it intriguing enough to keep your attention? We want your feedback. We want you to know.
This kind of show, it might serve a purpose of being on the go. Like, we need to be able to link these videos so people can listen to them on their iPhones, like earbuds, like just like kind of like a podcast as they're driving to work, something like that. Something that you can access and things like that, because no one wants to sit at their computer for 40 minutes listen to us talk. So,
well, unless it's on in the background,
right?
I mean, yeah,
it's another thing. But Oh man, we should just do a podcast, dude. Like,
Oh, we really
just
should.
give us a way to talk a lot because we like to talk a lot.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it now. I am going to say it right now. Let's start a podcast.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The XollFury part. No, we couldn't. We have to come up with better
No,
names.
I have a good couple names.
We've been horrible naming names. So,
well, I'm gonna look into how all of that works, and you guys can be looking forward to that sometime, hopefully in the next couple months. I will say hopefully before the end of the year, but it will most likely happen before the end of the year.
Yeah. But anyway, let us know what you thought about this video, and if we talk too long or we're just so good at talking that you didn't get bored.
You're
let
funny.
us know.
All right. Well, yeah, that's it. So long outro is long. So I'm XollFury.
I'm Zimoni Chaos.
And we'll see you next time.
Adios.